Alright, so you enjoyed last video where I talked about my favorite emergency radio. And so in today's video, as promised, I'm going to go over all the radios, the two-way radios in my collection, and just kind of go through what I like about them, what I don't like about them, why I picked what I picked. And the thing that you have to understand is, number one, I only have a GMRS license. I do not have a ham or a technician license or an amateur radio license. But I do have ham radios. And just because you don't have the proper license doesn't mean that you can't own these. You just cannot communicate on them. You can listen all day, every day. You just cannot push that push to talk button, right? And so making sure that you understand all of these things. This is going to be a longer video because I'm going to try to give you as much information as I possibly can. And we're going to start off with the free for everyone, and then we'll do the GMRS, which needs a license. It's just a basic, easy to get license. It's $35. They run a background check, and then you get your call sign. And then I'll go through some of the ham radios that I own. Again, just for emergency use only. I don't have the license to use them, but I can listen all I want. And so, with that being said, every radio, except the ones that aren't made anymore, will be in the description box down below, and I will label them FRS, which is free for everyone to use, GMRS, which needs a GMRS license, and ham. And the ham needs an amateur radio license, a technician license, or a general license, or an expert license. And so let's get started. Alright, so FRS radios are family radio service, and you can use them however you want. As long as you are not making money using them, you can use them for backing up trailers, you can use them for testing circuit breakers. So I'll be at the breaker box and Caroline will be staring at a light, and I'll be like, did that turn the light off? No. How about that one? Yep. And then we know that that breaker is for that light. There's a lot of benefits you get out of using a FRS radio, and a lot of people are like, why don't you just use a cell phone? Well, your cell phone battery dies a lot, and so anything you can do to preserve that cell phone battery is always a good thing. And also, when it comes to radios, if you have multiple people or a group of people, when I push this button, all the radios get that information all at once, right? I'm not having to text multiple different people and hope they check their phone. I'm not having to call and multiple people at the same time, or call multiple different people to relay the same information. I can just push this button and I know that everybody heard me and got the information that they needed, right? Even if we're apart, if there's 4 or 5 vehicles, I can push this button and every vehicle now has the exact same information. So I really like radios. These are the Yunden radios. These are actually really old. I won't be linking these in the description box because they just don't make them anymore. The thing with FRS is you are not allowed to have a removable antenna. You are not allowed to display frequencies. It can only display channels. FRS has 22 channels, which are 22 frequencies that you can talk and listen to. And also they can have a maximum of 2 watts. Now, because these are older radios, these only have half watt, which used to be the highest FRS could have, but now it's 2 watts. The other thing to keep in mind is channels 1 through 7, you can have a maximum of 2 watts transmitting. On channels 8 through 14, you can only have a maximum of half of a watt. And because of that, most people don't use channels 7 through 14. Anyone that knows the information anyway, because they don't like the lower wattage. What does wattage do for you? The more wattage you have, the more you can get through walls and buildings, and the more you can get through obstacles to the other antenna. Also, if I am talking on a radio and somebody else pushes a button, we both get canceled out. No one can hear anything, right? You're jamming up that frequency. No one can hear anything. Well, if I have a half watt radio and I'm talking and a 2-watt radio keys up, the 2-watt radio is talking now, right? And so you can kind of step over people, which is not good. I don't recommend stepping over people, but it does happen. So having the lower watt radio does mean that people can step over you if you're on channel 1 through 7 or 15 through 22, which again has a maximum wattage of 2 watts. But if you stay on that 7 through 14, or 8 through 14, excuse me, you can transmit, and if somebody else transmit, you just get canceled out. No one's stepping over anyone, and so everybody's a little bit more mindful of when they push that button. The ones that I will be linking to are the ones that I probably use most often. So if I have my parents over, if I have somebody over, these are the ones that I hand out. And these are the Bofang BF88ST radios. And the reason I like them so much is because they have the K plug so that I can use my programming cable. So every radio on this table, except for this one and one other one, which we'll get to, uses a K plug. And they are all, except these ones, Baofeng. And so I can use Chirp and I can program these radios. And so when you get these radios, there is a CTCSS code built into them. And what codes are, is there a way, people call them privacy codes. They're not privacy codes. They're more like do not disturb codes, right? Because what they do is, let's say we're all on channel 1, okay? If I push the button and somebody else pushes the button, we cancel each other out, right? So channel 1 is one person can talk at a time on channel 1. But what I can do is I can set my family, so if it's my family and your family, my family can be on code 1 and your family can be on code 2, and when I key up, only people on code 1 can hear me, right? And so this is off, by the way.
Power on. 16.
Now it's off, so I'm not keying up. But the if I transmit on code 1, only people on code 1 can hear me. You will see your little light up because somebody's talking. And so even if you push the button, code 1, code 2, no one can hear us, right? Because we're canceling each other out. And so if you talk on your radio, everyone on code 2 can hear you. I can't hear you. I'm just going to see the light up that says that somebody's talking, so I know not to push the button, but I can't hear anybody on any other codes. Nobody's going to be able to hear me on my code except the people that are in code 1. Nobody's going to be able to hear you except for the people that are in code 2. Code 3 can only hear code 3. Code 4 can only hear code 4. Those are not the codes, but I'm just trying to explain it simply. And these come with a code built into them, meaning that when you transmit, this comes in a 4-pack. So I have 4 of these radios. They are all the same. I have 2 without a clip, and I put the clip on 2 so I can put these easily in and out of a pocket. Or if somebody wants to clip, they can clip it onto whatever they want to clip onto. And they can talk to each other. But if you have somebody that has a different kind of FRS radio, they might not be able to hear them and you might not be able to hear them, right? So the workaround is if you just clear out all the codes. So I don't have any codes on these radios, meaning I can hear everyone. That's why they're not privacy codes. Once you get rid of the privacy codes, once you are like, I don't want privacy codes, I can hear everyone on every single code. I can hear you, but when I transmit, you can't hear me, right? Because you can only hear people on your code. I can only hear people that don't have any codes at all. but I can hear everyone. And reason that I got rid of the codes on these radios is because I found personally that when you hand somebody one of these radios, and we're in a state park or we're in the state fair or somewhere where people are actually using these, people that aren't familiar with them don't know to look for that light before they push the button. Meaning they're going to push the button, cancel out who's ever talking, so whoever's talking thinks that they're getting their information out when they are not. And the person in my group that pushes the button and is talking thinks that me and my family are getting the information and we are not, right? Because two people are transmitting and they don't realize that they're transmitting at the same time and being canceled out. And so by getting rid of those codes, we can hear everyone, right? Which is kind of annoying, especially when you're at like a state fair or a state park where there's lots of people talking. There are kids playing commandos, there are people backing up their camper, there's some mom yelling for their kids to get back to the camper. There's a lot of things going on and you hear it all, which is kind of annoying, but it's easier for people that are unfamiliar with the radio to understand that if somebody's talking, like only one person can talk at a time. So if somebody's talking, you can't push that button. And then you wait until it's quiet and then you key up and you start talking and then people stomp on you and people cancel you out. But yeah, I find that it's just easier to listen to the chaos and know that only one person can talk at a time than expect people that are unfamiliar to look for that light, see if that light is lit up before they push the button. So I took the codes off of these ones. These ones have a code on them too. So these ones can't talk to these ones. And these ones aren't programmable. And so if I ever get in a situation where I want to actually use these, I have to set the code on these to match these, and which is why I never use these. And remember, the other thing is you can program these. And so these only have 17 channels, which I'm not a fan of. I wish it had all 22 channels. But you can program the frequencies in here, and you can only program FRS frequencies. And so this is actually set up where instead of channels 1 through 16 like it came, I actually have 1 through 8, and then I have 15 through 22. So 16 is actually 22, 15 is 21, 14 is 20. And so I actually have it set up so that, because this is a 2-watt radio, so all the frequencies except channel 8 that can use 2 watts are on this radio. I've thought about changing it back because again, channels 8 through 14 are only half a watt, and this can do half a watt. And they are usually empty, but again, I like having the full power of the radio, so I have it different. If I want the lower power, I go to channel 8, because channel 8 again is half a watt. And if I want full power, I have channels 1 through 7 and 9 through 16 on these radios. And so that is FRS, Family Radio Service. I like the Baofangs the best because I can program them. I can change the CTCSS, the DCS, and I can change those codes in Chirp so that I can match them with other radios that we will be using at the same time. And so they're all work in unison with each other. And so I will link the Baofangs down below. I'm not going to link common ones because you're probably better off just going to Walmart or Fleet Farm or wherever you want to buy radios. They'll probably be cheaper there. But yeah, they all work pretty much the same. It's just an FRS radio. Alright, so next up would be GMRS. Now, GMRS stands for General Mobile Radio Service. You need a license in order to transmit on a GMRS radio. You can buy these, you can own these, you can listen all you want, but if you want to transmit, you need that GMRS license. That GMRS license, you go to the FCC website, you buy the license, they do a background check, and if you pass the background check, you will get the call sign, and then you can use that call sign at the end of your transmissions, stating that you are using a GMRS radio and not an FRS radio. Okay? Why does any of that matter? Well, first things first, the GMRS radios are much more advanced than the FRS radios. You can get a lot more capability out of a GMRS radio than you can an FRS radio. The first big one being you can replace the antenna. So I can take this antenna off and I can attach a much bigger, better antenna to my radio, and now I can get a lot more range. I can get a lot more capabilities with the different antennas. I can even put an antenna on my roof and run a coax down to this thing and use it as a base station, and I can get a lot of range out of this thing. The other advantage is you can use repeaters. Now I'm not going to get too into repeaters in this video, but essentially you go to a repeater channel, you talk, that signal goes to a repeater, which repeats that signal to a big range, and then if there's another repeater in that range, it can spread it even further. So you can get a lot of range out of these just by swapping out the antenna, and you can get even more range if you're using a repeater. And so having different antennas really does make a difference. The other thing is, while FRS can only have 2 watts of power, transmitting power, GMRS handhelds can have up to 5 watts. And so again, if there's an FRS talking and I key up, they're not talking anymore, I'm talking. We're not canceling each other out. I'm overpowering that radio. And so you need to be very mindful of when you push that button, because you don't want to be trampling over the FRS people. It uses the same 22 channels. Every channel you can use on FRS, you can use on GMRS, and nothing more. Which people always ask, so what's the advantage? Why would I buy a GMRS license, go through all of that, when it uses the exact same frequencies that I can use free on FRS? And again, it's the capabilities of the radio. The radio also can display frequencies instead of channels, meaning I can go to the 22 frequencies and I can then give those frequencies to other people to listen to as well. So if somebody has a police scanner, or if somebody has a ham radio, or if somebody has any radio that they can put a frequency into, I can give them my frequency and they can listen to me talking, or they can listen to the group that's talking, right? I have the frequency that I can share with other people. The other thing is I can listen to all the frequencies my radio is capable of listening to. So the fire department, the police department, the hospital, local businesses, the local farms, other people in the area. I can listen to some ham frequencies. So if there are people with ham radio licenses, I can listen to what they're talking about. I cannot transmit, I can't talk to them back, but I can listen to all of those frequencies, which is why they run a background check. They want to make sure that you're not driving around with this thing in your vehicle, listening to the police department while you're breaking the law, right? The other thing is, at least in Minnesota, I am not allowed to carry this inside my vehicle because, again, I can listen to the fire department, the police department. I can't have this in my vehicle without that GMRS license. So even though I can listen all I want, I cannot have this in my vehicle without that license. And so now that I have a GMRS license with a GMRS call sign, I can carry this in my vehicle legally. I can transmit on it legally. And so I think that it's a very good starting point for people that want to get a little bit more advanced into two-way radios. The other advantage is a lot of people that I know, my parents, my friends, my Caroline's friends, they don't have a GMRS radio, they don't have a GMRS license, they don't care. They went to Walmart, they went to Fleet Farm, they went to Cabela's, they bought these little cheap two-way radios, and that's good enough for them. With my GMRS radio, I can still talk to all of those people. I don't have to worry about them having any specific license. I don't have to worry about anything. If they go to Walmart and pick up some cheap radio, we can talk to each other. And I think that that's one of the biggest advantages of GMRS is you get all of these upgrades, you get all this extra power, you get all these extra features, you get all these extra capabilities, and yet you still can talk to whoever you want to talk to that isn't into two-way radios. So this right here is a Baofeng, Baofeng. This is the GM15 Pro. And this is a nice little radio. I actually really like this one a lot. It's small, it's compact. I didn't put the belt clip on it because it can slip inside of a pocket. I can put it in a shirt pocket, I can put it in a cup holder. And if I'm going to be driving for a long period of time and I have no intent on using a radio at all, I'll put this in the cup holder and I'll just have it scanning through channels, and I'll see what I can pick up, right? I'll see what's happening in my area. And so this is a nice little, simple, easy to use, nothing real fancy about it. The other thing with GMRS is there's most of them, not all of them, but most of them have the ability to listen to two frequencies at the same time. So you have an A side and a B side. I have mine set up. Again, I can hook it up to Chirp, and I can use Chirp to program all the frequencies, all the everything. So I can go into Chirp, and I program my A side to be the name of the channel. So I name every single channel. And so if I have the International Space Station, I'll have ISS named on there. And so on the A side, when I'm on channel 35, it'll say ISS, and I know that that's the International Space Station. On the B side, I have the frequency, and so it won't tell me the name. So when I'm on channel 35 and I hear people talking, I don't really know what that is. I can go to the A side, go to channel 35, and it'll say ISS, International Space Station. Or I can go to channel 40, which would be the police department, right? And so I can go to the A side, see who's talking. If I need the frequency because I want to share that frequency with somebody else, or I want to put that frequency into a completely different radio, I can go to the B side and I can get the frequency to that. So again, there's just a lot more capabilities you get with GMRS that you do not have with FRS. And so this radio, I really like it. It's simple, it's easy to use. If somebody were to steal it, I'm not out a lot of money. That's why I have this, the antenna that came with it. Because again, if somebody took this, if I lost it, it wouldn't hurt my feelings none. It's just a cheap, simple radio, cheap, simple antenna that came with it. It's very inexpensive. So I really like that one just for general use. This one is the GMRS 9R. This one is waterproof, dustproof. This is a decent radio. It's not my favorite. The reason it's not my favorite is because of this switch. There's no cover on it, and usually when there's no cover, so there's no cover on this one, but there's a lot of resistance on that dial. So to turn the volume up and down, there's a lot of resistance there. So even though there's no cover, it's still hard to move. This one is very, very, very easy to move. I can just brushing up against stuff moves that dial. And so sometimes the dial will go very loud, and as it's scanning, when it finally gets to somebody talking, it just is super loud. It scares the crap out of you. Or it goes the other way and it turns the volume really low, which you can't hear it at that point, and so you don't know that somebody's talking. And so if I'm with Caroline or my son and we plan on using radios, I do not use this one because, again, if I brush up against something and it turns the volume low and they're trying to get a hold of me and I can't hear them, That's not a good situation. So it is waterproof. It is pretty rugged. If you're just going to be using it at home, if you're just going to set it on a desk and listen to the radio and you don't want to worry about spilling on it or something happening to it, this is a good radio just to keep around the house, but it's not my favorite. This one, on the other hand, this is the UV9G. It's pretty much the exact same as the GMRS 9R. It's the same size. They look very, very similar. They're both waterproof, but the UV9G has a cover so that nothing can rub and move that knob, and also the knob is a lot harder. There's a lot more tension on that knob, making it harder to move as well. And so wherever I set it to, it stays there, which I really like. It's waterproof, and so if I'm going to be out in the rain, if I'm going to be out in the elements, this is a great radio for that. The other thing is this, out of all of my radios, this one scans the fastest. Now, it's not like a police scanner fast. A police scanner can scan up to 1,000 channels a second. Like, it just scans crazy. So if you want a police scanner that scans through the frequencies very quickly and you can pick up things as they're happening, you want a police scanner. These aren't going to scan. I think this one scans like 100 channels a second, and I think my next best one scans about 80 channels per second, right? So nowhere near a police scanner, but this is the fastest scanner that I have. And sometimes I'll let this scan, and then I'll have another radio scanning, and this one will pick up people talking, and then they'll be done talking by the time this one gets to that channel. And so what I'll do is I'll have this one scan, and then when there are people talking, I'll set that frequency on this radio, and then I'll have this one just keep scanning and finding more stuff. And so, yeah, this one I really recommend. If you have a GMRS license and you want something that can scan quickly and is pretty rugged and robust, the UV9G, I really like this radio. This is the one that I use when I go backpacking, when I go and I'm going to be with the family. This is my go-to radio right here. This right here is my favorite radio. This is a newer, this might be my new, no, this is one of my newest radios. This is the UV5G Plus. This is also, it came in a 2-pack, so this is the same thing. This is the antenna that came with it. This is the battery that came with it. So this extension on the bottom is just the battery. I bought an extended, larger battery for it. It's got a tactical antenna. I really like this radio a lot. The capabilities of this radio, if I'm at home or if I'm going to be going to someone's house, this is the radio I take with me, just because of its capabilities, just because it looks cool. Everybody sees the extended battery and the tactical antenna, and they're like, wow, that's a serious radio guy right there. Even though I'm not, I just have a GMRS license, and I don't want my radio dying while I'm gone. And so the other thing is it's USB-C rechargeable. This is the only GMRS radio, these two are the only GMRS radios that are USB-C rechargeable. So I can charge them in my vehicle, I can charge them with a power bank, I can charge them with a battery station or power station. I really like this. The green button changes everything. What this green button does is it search for frequencies within about 20 feet of it. So it's not going to be searching everything around, but within like 20 feet of it, it'll search, and then it'll find the frequency that's being used and the codes, the CTCSS or the DCS codes. So this radio has a code set on it. I don't know what it is. There's no way to go into the menu or anything and find what it is either. With this, I can scan and I can find what frequency it's transmitting on, which is the channel. I know what channel it is, but I can find the code, and then I can program these other radios to that same code. And so if somebody, let's say a friend of mine comes over, they just bought new FRS radios and they can't talk, they only talk to each other, they can't hear anybody else, nobody else can hear them. Well, it's because they have a code set, right? And I can use this to find out what that code is, and then I can put that code into my radio, and then we can talk back and forth with their FRS radio on their code. Or if they have the ability to be programmed, plugged into a computer and programmed with chirp, I can take whatever radios they're trying to use and I can either turn the codes off, or I can set them all to the same code so that they can all talk to each other. Again, like do not disturb mode, not like privacy. But this green button, it really is convenient. It really is nice to have. And so I'm a big fan of this radio. If you're only gonna buy one GMRS radio, this might be the one to get, because the capabilities that this has, you're going to be using it a lot, especially if you have a lot of people that use FRS radios and they come with a code set on them. The only way I know how to figure out what that code is to plug it into Chirp and see what the code is set on in Chirp, or use this. And not all FRS radios can be plugged into the computer. So this is sometimes the only way that I know how to figure out what those codes are set to. So handheld radios, 5 watts, lots of capabilities, lots of listening power, lots of transmitting power over FRS. Again, handhelds can have 5 watts. 5 watts on channels 1 through 7, half a watt again on 8 through 14, and then 5 watts on 16 or 15 through 22. But now let's get into the base station. So this is a GMRS radio also. This is a base station or a mobile radio. You need to plug it into a separate battery. You mount it onto your dash. You mount it wherever you want to mount it to inside your home. And this becomes a base station or a mobile station that you can then transmit at 50 watts. GMRS allows you to have radios like this can transmit at 50 watts only on channels 15 through 22. And so I bought this radio. This is a B-Tech 50 watt radio. They don't make this anymore. I think there's a V2 now actually, but they don't make this specific one anymore. And this one is supposed to be a 50 watt radio. I think the most I've ever gotten out of it is 38 watts, which I was going to return it. I was going to return it and be like, oh, I'll just buy something else. But at the time, this was kind of the only radio that claimed 50 watts. All the other ones, the best was 25. And so if I returned this one and bought a 25, I wouldn't have anywhere near 38, right? And so I kept it. The V2, I think, promises to get a lot closer to that 50 watt mark. And so if you are going to get one of these, get the V2. And yeah, this radio right here, if there is a storm in the area, if it is storming out, if I hear police sirens, if I hear anything, this is the one that I turn on. I have a power inverter that it plugs into. I then have an antenna with a coax cable that goes out, and it allows me to get a lot more range and listen to a lot more things that are happening around me. So most people don't need a base station. Most people would be better off just getting a handheld. Yes, you don't get the power of a base station, but that same antenna that I use for this, I can plug into this with an adapter. The 50 watts also only matters when I'm transmitting. and I'm not really transmitting here at home, right? If I was part of an off-roading group, that would be different, because then I would want to transmit at a higher power so that I can get through the mountains, through the hills, through the whatever, so that people can hear me. But just sitting at home, I don't really need the 50 watts. The 5 watts is enough for me, because again, I'm mostly just listening. I'm not really transmitting all that much. And so for listening, 5 watts is plenty, and you can take it with you. Again, if you could only have one, it'd be hard for me to pick between the UV5G Plus and the UV9G. These two radios right here, these are the two that I go to the most. If I need waterproof, if I need rugged, I'll grab this one. If I need capabilities, I grab this one. But I prefer handhelds over base stations, which again is why this is the only one I have, and it's probably the only one I'm ever going to have. I have no interest in spending the money to upgrade it. I'd rather use handhelds, and I have the two handhelds that I really like. So that is GMRS in a nutshell. Alright, so next up on the list is going to be ham radio or amateur radio. Now, in order to have amateur radio capabilities, in order to press that transmit button, you need to have a ham radio license. You need to have at least a technician license. In order to get a technician license, you do have to study for a test. You have to pass the test with at least 80%, I believe it is. And yeah, then there's the general license that gives you even more capabilities, and then there's the expert license that lets you pretty much do whatever you want, as far as I understand. And so I do not have a ham radio license. I do not have a technician's license. I do not have a general license. I don't have any license whatsoever. From what I understand, you cannot get a general without a technician. You have to get them in order. So you have to get a technician license, and then you can get a general license, and you have to have a general license before you can get the expert. And so these radios that I'm about to show you, I will link in the description box down below. You can buy them, you can own them, you can listen, but like me, I cannot transmit on these at all. Without the license, you cannot transmit, you can only listen. I own 3 UV5Rs. These are the most hated radios on the planet, I think, because, well, number one, people complain because they are cheap junk, right? They do everything, but they don't do anything well, right? It's a struggle to get these things to do what you want them to do. Yes, they can do everything, but it's hard to make them do what you want them to do. And then you have the people on the other side that are all like, oh, these are dangerous because they can do so much, and you have people doing things with these radios that they're not licensed to do, that they're not educated on how to do, so they're doing them improperly, they're doing them incorrectly, they're causing all these problems. And so one group of people hates them because they don't do anything well, and then you have another group of people that hate them because they do too much, right? And so, yeah, they're very, very capable radios. Yes, they're hard to use. Yes, hooking it up to chirp does help. But again, because I'm not transmitting on any of these, and I'm just listening, I just put the frequencies in there. And in case of an emergency, in an emergency situation, all of FCC's rules and regulations do not apply. If there is a natural disaster, if they're in a life or death situation, if it is an emergency, you can do whatever you need to do with these radios to get help, right? And so that's why I like having ham radios. We talked about this last week. The ability to know that I can transmit on a frequency where somebody's actually going to be listening to, right? Being able to transmit and say, I need help, I'm stuck under, like a tornado comes through. takes my house down, I'm stuck in the basement, I can radio out for help. Like, I'm stuck in the basement. This is my address. This is what's happening. I need help. I need resources. Or let's say my house is fine, but 2 blocks down there's a house on the ground and there are people underneath. Again, hey, I need help at this street. There are people that are in danger. They're stuck in their basement. I need help, right? I can send an SOS to whoever is available and get the help that I need or somebody else needs. So I really like having the ham radios for emergency only. The other ones that I have, these are UV5RM. I have 2 of them. They came in a 2-pack. Honestly, I bought these by mistake. I thought they were this one that we talked about last week, and yeah, I bought them by mistake. But they are capable. They are good. They are better than the UV5Rs because the UV5Rs are 5 watts. I'm not sure what watts ham radio is supposed to use. I probably should have looked it up before our filming. But again, I don't have the license, so I don't want to give wrong information. I don't know exactly what they're capable of using, but the UV5Rs are 5 watts. I know that. The new ones that you can buy are 8 watts. These ones, these UV5RMs, are 10 watts. So again, these are more capable than the UV5Rs, and I have all the same frequencies inside these as those. And these are ham radio only. And so if during Hurricane Helena, Hurricane Katrina, there's a lot of situations where the natural disaster, there are earthquakes that take out all the cell phone towers. And so because all the cell phone towers are taken out, you can't call, you can't text, you can't use your phone for anything. Again, if the power goes out, your Wi-Fi, your modem and your routers don't have power, they don't do nothing. So you don't have internet, you don't have text messaging, you don't have the ability to call anyone. And in most of those situations, people come in with ham radios and they are able to use repeaters and create a mesh system to get a signal not only across the neighborhood but across the entire country, right? And so you can call your loved ones, you can talk to your loved ones and let them know that you're okay. You can get a hold of people that are in the disaster to make sure that your sons and daughters and aunts and uncles and grandma and grandpas are okay. There's a lot of capability inside ham radio, and so I kinda accidentally upgraded my UV5Rs to UV5RMs. They're a lot more capable than the UV5Rs for wattage. And again, wattage is good for transmitting. And again, if I'm using these for emergency purposes only, transmitting is what I need. I need the most power I can for transmitting. And these 10-watt radios give me that. They're at least double what I used to have. What I was actually trying to buy when I bought those is the UV5RM. The UV5RM is exactly the same as the UV5RM and the UV5R plus, UV5G plus, excuse me. So there's a GMRS version, there's a ham radio version, and then the AR5RM is completely unlocked. This right here is 10 watts, and it is very similar to the UV5R. So the UV5R can be unlocked, so it's a ham radio that can be unlocked. The AR5RM comes unlocked. As far as I understand, the UV5RM cannot be unlocked, and the UV5G Plus I know cannot be unlocked because I own them and I've tried and it doesn't work. You can only have GMRS frequencies on them. You can only have ham radio frequencies on these, but the AR5RM comes fully unlocked. The other thing is this has AM capabilities. The UV5G Plus does not have AM, and the UV5RM does not have AM frequencies. The AR5RM does. This is all very confusing. That's why I accidentally bought the wrong radios. But this gives me the ability to talk on frequencies that I should not be talking on. Even with a general, or even with a technician license, even with a general license, there are frequencies that you can communicate on. If you push that button, you are talking on frequencies that you are not allowed to communicate on unless it's an emergency. Again, all rules and regulations do not apply on FCC's rules and regulations do not apply if you are in a life or death situation. Okay, if it is an emergency situation, all those rules and regulations go out the window. And so if I hear somebody talking on any frequency on this radio, I can push that button and I can call for help. And again, this isn't on. I'll turn it on. Now it's on. Now it's off. So I'm not transmitting. I'm not doing anything bad. But the capability, and again, it has that same scan feature that the UV5G Plus and the UV5RM have. It has a lot of capabilities, and it gives me a good peace of mind. We talked about this last week, so I'm not going to go over it again because I'm sure you already watched that video. But it just makes me feel better knowing that if something were to happen and I have this on me, I can scan through the frequencies, and if I hear someone talking, I can get their attention. I can be like, hey, you need to call for help. Even if they're nowhere near me, right? Even if they personally don't have access to me, if they have the capabilities of calling 911, if they have the capabilities of getting the help that I need, if they have access to the fire department or the hospital so they can get an ambulance, or the police department so that the police can come and give me the help that I need, or again, if something bad is happening, I can reach out for help and help others around me as well. So this is the radio I was trying to buy, but I bought these by accident, and I kept these because I like the capabilities. I like having them. If somebody with a ham radio license comes over, I can hand them this. They can use this one, and I can use this one, and we can do what we do, right? So that's another trick. If they listen to two frequencies, right? And so I cannot transmit on a ham frequency, but I can listen to ham frequencies. Ham radios cannot transmit on GMRS frequencies, meaning if I set my B to whatever ham frequency they're talking on, and they set their B to whatever GMRS frequency I'm talking on, I can hear them and they can hear me. And then I can, again, the A side is what we're talking on. We listen to the B side. We can legally talk to each other, and they're using ham, I'm using GMRS. People listening are going to be confused. People are only going to hear half of the conversation, but we can legally talk to each other. If my friend with a ham radio license comes over, I can hand him this radio. He can set his favorite frequency or whatever it is. I set it here so that I can listen to him. He sets B to the GMRS channel that I'm on, and we talk back and forth. It's pretty simple, actually. And so that's it. That's everything I own. FRS, I have the Bofang BF88ST. I have 4 of those. I have really old radios that they don't make anymore. GMRS, I have 5 handheld radios. I have the big one base station radio. When it comes to ham radios, I have 6 ham radios as well. So, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you made it to the end, I really appreciate all your support. I appreciate you being here. Hopefully I gave you some insight. Hopefully there was some helpful information that you could pick up in this video. If there is something that you learned, let me know in the comment section. If there's something that I left out or that you want me to discuss in a future video, leave that in the comment section. Make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I cannot wait to see you in my next video.